Hey everybody, welcome to Kavanaugh's Corner. On the channel here, I review 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays, physical media releases, mainly movies and things like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, then I ask you to please consider subscribing to the channel. Now today I'm going to be reviewing a movie that is one of my favorite comedies. It is a little bit of an acquired taste. If you're not into British humor, you're probably not going to like this movie. And of course, if you're a devout person of any faith, you may have some issues with this movie. But as controversial as it is, I find it really funny because it kind of lampoons like everything, and mainly the Bible story of Jesus, even though it doesn't insult that story. And that is, of course, Monty Python's Life of Brian. And this is just an absolutely crazy movie. I mean, it's slapstick humor. There's some kind of crude humor thrown in there. I reviewed Dogma a while back, the very limited edition of that. And that movie, I think, is way more on the nose than this one is. This just kind of plays around with the time period and how Brian's life kind of side saddles the life of Jesus. But man, some of the scenes in this movie are just so funny. Again, if you're into that kind of humor, you might enjoy it. But I know fans are out there. There's a lot of big fans of Monty Python. And even though this movie came out a week before I'm posting this, I wanted to talk about it because this is a movie that I've had in my collection for a while. Actually, I've actually never owned the Blu-ray of this, but I have the old DVD of this. This is actually one of the first Criterion Collection films I ever owned, and it's spine number 61, and they actually carried that spine number over. I was really excited about this getting a 4K restoration because this movie, in my opinion, has never really looked good. I've seen HD transfers on streaming services and stuff in the past, but none of them really looked any good. They all kind of looked a little rough around the edges. So today on the channel, I'm going to be talking about the 4K transfer here that's on this new Criterion Collection disc. We'll be talking about the picture quality, the audio quality, and the special features. Now, before I go any further with the review here, the one thing I always like to say is that my review here is my opinion. Yours may differ completely, and that's okay. I watched this on a 77-inch LG OLED, a C4 model LG TV. I have a 5.1.2 surround sound setup, and I have a Denon receiver kind of powering everything. My Blu-ray player is a Panasonic UB9000. So your setup, it may be completely different. You may have a very different experience. Just keep in mind that this was mine, and I'm just doing this to kind of help you be informed of this release and whether or not you should pick it up. So first and foremost, let's jump right into the picture quality here on Life of Brian. As I mentioned, this is an all-new 4K restoration. Now, this restoration was actually supervised and approved by Terry Gilliam. Now, even though the great Terry Gilliam was not the director of this movie, Terry Jones was. Mr. Jones sadly passed away back in 2020. So he was not available to do this new transfer. I do know that he did approve the older transfer here on the DVD. Sadly, people pass away, but I'm glad Mr. Gilliam was able to step in and kind of fill in for Terry there because, man, it's great to have at least one of the remaining Python guys really kind of going the distance and doing this new transfer here, supervising and approving the new transfer. Now, this new transfer was taken from the original 35mm camera negative, but certain sections of the film were done with an interpositive of that 35mm camera negative. And, they got a Dolby HDR transfer here, and I gotta say that I was pleasantly surprised with the look of Life of Brian here. As I mentioned earlier, this is a movie that has always kind of looked a little rough around the edges. This movie was basically completely independently funded. and it did not have a massive budget. George Harrison of the Beatles fame, he was actually the one who really did a lot of the funding for this movie, and it shows. I mean, this does not have a massive budget. It's definitely bigger than Holy Grail, another Monty Python film that, you know, preceded this, but man, it ain't by much. It does look really good, though, on this new transfer. The color palette of this movie was really the biggest thing that jumped out at me when I was watching this. It's a very warm, very natural type color palette, and the black levels in the darker scenes actually looked really, really inky and solid on this new transfer. Now, as I mentioned, I have not owned this on any other version besides this original DVD, and it really seems that the color palette of this new 4K transfer is very similar to that older DVD when I went back and forth between them. It's much warmer than probably any other version out there. I have read reviews of some of the Blu-rays that were released by Sony in the passing years that were very, very blue, like a much colder color palette. Thankfully, that is gone, and it really helps this movie out because this movie takes place kind of in desert surroundings, as the story would normally take place, and that kind of thing doesn't really lend itself to blue. It's a lot of yellows, a lot of browns, a lot of clay kind of colors, and those colors now are much more vivid, much more natural than in any previous release that I've ever seen. The skin tones in this are also extremely accurate. You can actually really see that some of the cast in this movie, some of the Monty Python guys, were really out in the sun for a long period of time because they get like sunburnt, some of them have like tans, and they just switch back and forth the whole movie. It's kind of a continuity nightmare, but you can really see it now, and it's very, very lifelike. The skin tones are extremely lifelike. And not only that, the detail level on this 4K was also pretty surprising. Now, a lot of the movie, bunch of the scenes of the movie here are really shot with like this very soft kind of filter, and that's been in every version of this movie. It's not just this 4K, but that filter really doesn't lend itself a lot to really deep details of faces, of clothing, of buildings, sets, and things like that. But the scenes that don't use that kind of camera work look outstanding. Now, this film has always been really gritty looking, and in this new 4K, the film grain is intact. And what that means is there is a fairly decent amount of film grain all throughout the movie, and I mean that carries through the entire film. It's not really noisy, but it is noticeable. It's definitely not as heavy as the previous DVD that I have here, but it's there. And I'm glad it's there because you get way more of a depth of field. You definitely don't get those issues that you would get if they just wholesale DNR'd this movie. And it was masterfully done because that film grain is very healthy all throughout. If you don't like film grain, you're really not going to like this release, but I loved it. I was very surprised with how bright this movie got as well. That Dolby Vision not only does a lot for the color palette, does a lot for the picture quality in terms of black levels and stuff, but there are some daytime scenes that get fairly bright. It's not an extreme brightness, but you definitely get the sense that they are out in the sun, and, you know, it's not blinding by any means. The scene-by-scene color grading and the brightness of every scene is fairly dead on. It really does a good job of kind of dimming when characters go inside. But when the, cameras are outside, you get a little bit more in terms of brightness, and I thought that was really great. All in all, I really think this is probably the best transfer of this film that has ever existed. I loved the look of this movie. Even the animated title sequence looked way better now than it ever has. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. It was really impressive stuff. Now, in terms of audio quality, there is a newly restored DTS HD Master Audio stereo track, so it's a 2.0 stereo. There's also an alternate 5.1 surround sound DTS HD mix. Now, that 2.0 stereo track, it sounded fantastic. It's not exactly room-filling, but it does a great job of replicating that original theatrical experience. Voices and dialogue sound crystal clear. The music in the movie was really, really great sounding. The theme song, that James Bond ridiculous style theme song in the title sequence, sounded outstanding. And the other kind of orchestral music was just as good, if not better. Now, sound effects and stuff like that, again, they sound really good. So this movie doesn't really lend itself to an immersive mix, but the alternative 5.1 surround does give a little more life to the movie. It may not be the theatrical experience, but I thought it was actually better than the stereo track. I did have to turn it up a little bit. It's not the loudest DTS HD track, but it did sound a little more involving. Now, that's just my personal preference. I thought, dialogue, music, sound effects, everything else was pretty great. I mean, they're both on an even keel here. So it really comes down to personal preference. Mine, I have to go with that 5.1 mix just because I like having a little extra in terms of ambiance. And there is some added things to that 5.1 track in terms of sound effects, people in rooms. There's a crowd scene where you get a little more of the sound effects kind of surrounding you in a few sequences. But mainly, even that track, the dialogue is always front and center. So it's really up to you. I like the 5.1 better, even though the stereo track is the newer mix, and it does have a little bit better volume on it. So your mileage may vary. Either one, you can't go wrong. In terms of audio on this, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Now, in terms of special features, there's a whole bunch. Now, sadly, they're all carryovers from older releases. There are 2 audio commentaries. First commentary is with Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam, and Eric Idle. And the second commentary is with John Cleese and Michael Palin. They're both hilarious. They're both great commentary tracks. And if you're a Monty Python fan, you gotta listen to those. You're gonna love them. In terms of the other special features, they're all included on the Blu-ray here. It is a 2-disc set, and I'll quickly kind of show you the packaging here. This is pretty funny. You can see here it says, he's not the Messiah. And then if you take these discs out here, he's a very naughty boy. And I always thought that was so funny that they carried that over into this design. It's a great little joke, but the special features are all on the secondary disc. Now, the one thing to keep in mind about this release that is pretty interesting is that the extra Blu-ray disc that's included in here does not have the feature film on it. The movie is only on the 4K disc. The special features are the only thing that's on that secondary Blu-ray disc, so please keep that in mind if you're going to invest in this. If you want the Blu-ray version, you're going to want to go with the Blu-ray only. Now, in terms of special features on that secondary disc, one of the newer special features on this disc here is an hour-long kind of like making of documentary that's called The Story of Brian. That, I think, was made back in like the early 2000s, but that has pretty much all of the Monty Python guys kind of looking back at the making and production of this film. It also goes into the release of it and all the controversy that surrounded it when it came out. So that's a great little documentary that's included. There's also another documentary that was shot on location during the making of the film that's called The Pythons, and that's about an hour long. There's also another really neat special feature that's included here that is all Super 8 footage that was shot by Michael Palin before and during the making of the film. It's really interesting to see the Python guys kind of all in a room together working on like the script for this movie, and then actually on location making the movie. There's also a almost 2-hour audio recording of all the Python guys doing a read-through of the script. Of course, this is a earlier version of the script, but it is kind of cool to hear these guys kind of going through scene for scene, doing voices sometimes, and getting all the characters ready for when they actually are going to shoot the movie. There's also 5 deleted scenes included. Those were on this DVD as well. There's also 4 vintage radio ads that are very silly. I think one of them is actually credited to Michael Palin's dentist, which is it's just ridiculous, some of the stuff these guys did back in the day. There's also an animated stills gallery and a trailer for the film. All in all, I think it's really nice that they expanded the special features here from the older DVD. There were a few carryovers, but it's really nice that they added a few things that were on other releases of this film and put it on the Blu-ray here. It's a packed disc. I wish there was some new stuff, but what you get is definitely worth it. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. All in all, I think this is a phenomenal release from Criterion here. It's definitely the definitive version of Life of Brian to own on any sort of physical media. Picture quality, it is outstanding in every way. I love the audio tracks that were included in here, whether you go with the new restored stereo or the 5.1, either way you can't lose. And you get a secondary Blu-ray disc that is just chock full of special features. Even though there are no new ones, what you get is really, really enlightening. And I love behind the scenes stuff, and this disc has got a ton of it. So all in all, this is a phenomenal, phenomenal release here. If you're a Monty Python fan, this is a must own. And even if you don't like Monty Python very much, personally, I think this movie is an absolute riot and it's worth owning. So if you would like to pick up Life of Brian on Criterion 4K here, you can use the little link in the little shopping bag below, or if there was a QR code up here somewhere, you can use that as well. If you use those links, it does help me out here on the channel quite a lot. But of course, I know not everybody's made of money. You may not be able to afford that at the moment. If so, it's totally okay. The best thing I can ask you to do to support me here on the channel is to hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me. It means that you believe in what I do here. A little while ago, I surpassed over 10,000 subscribers, and I've been at this for a little over 11 years. I know I may not be the biggest YouTuber out there in terms of physical media stuff, but I love you guys, all you guys that watch my videos and take the time to make it all the way to the end like we are right now. I really, really appreciate it. And of course, if you can give me a thumbs up and hype the video, that's a new thing, is the hype thing. If you can do that, that means the world to me. That helps get this video out there to others who have similar interests to you. So I really, really appreciate all of that. Until next time, I wish you guys all the very best. Please stay safe, keep collecting, and take it easy.